having to go on and I'm not even defending your picks anymore. I think people know that I post this stuff, so I don't even defend them. I'll just like them and I'll leave a comment. I'll try to use an ocean generic because I mean I could get worked up or whatever. Like that comment that what's his name? I think that's the same guy that doesn't like me. The guy that blocked me. That said like did the Swede. Yeah, that is a guy. The guy that asked about the Swedens. He's the one that blocked me. Yeah.
Dude, it's
he threatened physical harm on me, and I'm like, okay, you know where to find me, dude.
actually I think that guy lives within 1 hour driving distance of where I currently am sitting.
Oh, cool. Well, tell him I
He's
said hi.
coming for you.
I really do generally wish him the best and hope he has a good day and stuff like that. He obviously loves our content. You know, he won't say he loves our content, but
You're too nice.
Yeah, I thanked him for helping us out. Anytime you leave a comment, it's cool stuff. Thanks, appreciate it. But I generally
come beat your ass, PC. Thanks for the comment.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think he would really put. I mean, I don't know. He's the one that said I'm what is it? The soy boy. Soy boy. Mesa, do you know what a soy boy is?
No, should I?
Apparently, it's a new term. Soy boy means that basically I'm a beta.
Is that like granola? Is that kind of the same thing?
I don't know. I haven't heard granola. I don't know. If you know what soy boy is in the chat, let us know. But I looked it up in the Urban Dictionary. Hey, Craig. But he called me a soy boy, and I'm like, that I have like low testosterone. I'm like, I'm almost 50 years old. I'm pretty sure I probably do have low T. I'm almost 50 years old. So maybe I don't know. I don't think I am. I don't consider myself a beta. Hello, Sarah.
More of an alpha, huh?
No, I mean, I don't think I'm. I mean, I don't know. I think we are all. I mean, I don't think there's ever like an exact alpha because there's situations where alpha has to be betas too. Like in the military, it's like you can't have a bunch of alphas. It's like
you've never thought about it this hard until you got this comment.
No, I have. Well, I don't know. I mean, I have thought about it. I've been in a lot of stuff where you have I don't always have to be.
If we continue talking about the alphas or betas any longer, someone's gonna think our podcast was hijacked by a different podcast.
Yeah, probably. But anyways, hey, we have a new addition today. Why don't you, Brian? You can introduce her since I've only heard of her twice, and this is the first time I've met her. So I'm gonna let you go ahead and take it from here. I'm just gonna shut up and drink water.
Well, this is what one of our best friends here, ironically, Fit says, be you unapologetically.
Alpha or beta, whichever way it goes.
I'm an omega.
Okay.
I'm the N. I'm the omega.
What's happening?
Exactly.
Mesa actually has written one article for B.Friendly Fitness. It's up on the website, of course. It was a review of Dubai Fitness Championships. We have a massive undertaking coming up at Wodapalooza a few days from now in terms of producing the live stream. We still want to have some content that's going out on behalf of B.Friendly Fitness. So we've got some of our usual content creators coming in, Fury Photography, Truth Films. We got a new addition to the team that's going to be helping them out. A friend of mine from the Carolinas, a guy that's doing some content. And then Mesa is going to be doing some writing there as well. Yep. She also has, are you actually coaching Owen?
He's a physical therapy client of mine.
Gotcha. She works with one of the athletes who's on the in the team division. She will be competing. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
You know him?
Big Owen fan.
Yeah, he's one of my longtime close friends. He's a cool dude.
Yeah. Shout out to Owen. Sorry about Brian picking your team where it's at. But anyways, go ahead, Brian.
And she also, trains a lot and competes a little. And she's going to be competing with one of her friends in Fittest of the Coast 2 weeks after Wodapalooza that we'll be covering. But since she will be writing for us, and I've had some conversations with her, I think she's got a pretty good perspective on some stuff. And then she's going to probably want to make fun of me on some other things. And
only a little.
People like that. So what did I miss besides that, Mesa?
I'm a physical therapist. Maybe
Yeah,
that's my
since
background.
2018. Since 2018.
Oh yeah, he just learned that the only
No, I
fact he
knew
knows
that. I
about
knew
me.
that. I know that. I knew it
Yeah,
already.
and I've coached CrossFit for years, worked out of gyms, treated gym in gyms, so just kind of well versed in the functional fitness realm.
And where
L1.
were you born?
I grew up overseas in Dubai my whole life, hence my big interest in the Dubai competition. Yeah, I just moved to the States for college.
We definitely need some more North Americans who are pro Dubai Fitness Championship. It's a dwindling
I
percentage of
know,
us.
but it's such a cool competition. I think it's just such a big trip for athletes.
Since
Yes.
you're from Dubai, and one of us is actually in the UAE right now, is Patrick, and I was actually
Hmm.
trying to do the same this morning a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
Patrick took a last minute trip. I mean, he'd been thinking about doing it, just always has to coordinate things with the army and everything else that he's got going on. But he pretty spontaneously did decide to go to the UAE for the Storm Games, and he surprised some of his athletes there. You might have seen on Instagram. And one day of the competition is done. Is that right?
Just finished. They're about an hour and a half behind. Um, Brian, you'd probably be going ape shit about now, but hey, Mesa, you know how it is, inshallah, right? You know,
Hmm.
so but no, it's been good. Yeah, it's been really cool. I mean, I really like the feel. It's just a pretty cool competition. I've heard some good things about it. Obviously, you've seen athletes competing. This is, I think, the third year of it,
Hmm.
and typically it's the first year it was really more like golf, Dubai centric, and then last year they kind of expanded it, and they actually started like a pipeline pretty much to Norway. So the Prince is a really avid CrossFitter. I mean, he CrossFits. He's really engaged. Really cool dude. Um, we've met Princes here before and people that are advocates for it, but I think he's at a different level. Like he really lives the CrossFit methodology, and just a
There's
really,
levels to this shit. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, there's level. But yeah, so they do a really cool competition. Obviously, we can look at the lineup. I think I posted something kind of showing off the lineup, and it's pretty
Is there a
impressive.
leaderboard?
Yes. So I will actually, let's pull. You want to pull up the leaderboard here, and we can discuss it real quick before we get into it.
And by you pull it up, do you mean PC
Me,
pulls it up?
yeah, PC
Yeah.
pulls it. Sorry,
Yes,
I
that'd be
forgot.
great.
Where,
I
forgot
didn't
where I
have it
was.
prepped.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the women's first, then we'll head over to the men's side. Um,
Okay. How many events did they actually complete today?
So there's three events, four scored events. Part two was actually a two-parter, but it was one. It was split up in two parts where the actual workout, and then you pick the weight that you were doing your squat cleans at, and for how many squat cleans you had, they added up the kilos you did. So if you did 30 kilos at 100 100 kilo 30 sorry 30 reps, 30 squat cleans at 100 kilos, you got 3,000 pounds, and then and then they get the totality of your points, and that counts as another score. So it was actually kind of interesting because you had some people that put on a little bit more weight, um, that are obviously stronger, but they just maybe didn't have the engine to kind of get through. That's why you'll see someone like Jamie Simmons and Saher, who finished first and second on both of those parts. They went with a little bit lighter weight. They actually had the same weight on, and Jamie was just amazing in that workout. So she kind of broke the programming on that.
Sarah, you
But
are not derailing the topic. We were actually planning to talk about this anyway. That's why Patrick had it so revved up there, and never seen the fifth place girl before. We didn't know Verena Reimers quite well. Patrick, do you want to give a little background on her?
So Verena is actually from Hamburg, Germany. She's been around. She's probably kind of been hanging out in the team division. Made the move full time to. She's been a Krieger athlete ever since they started. She made the move to Oslo this past year. Even moved our car and dog, or moved her dog from Hamburg. So she lives in Oslo, German, and she's believe she's like 32, 33. She won the IF3 Masters. Very, very talented. I mean, she's a great CrossFitter.
There haven't been a ton of like
German.
breakthrough international German athletes in CrossFit
Yeah,
outside of Moritz, really.
Mhm.
But I would say that for the last 5 years, she's probably been in the top 5 fittest women from Germany. Just
Yeah.
not, they just haven't broken through. Like there was the girl Katarina Isela who is at the semifinals this year, but you probably didn't see her too much. She's in that mix. And then there was like Franzi Hoger, who we covered at the Turku Tomipaiva 2 years ago. She's in that mix. So Verena Reimers, yeah, she's one of the best from Germany, basically.
Yeah. And we'll talk when we talk about there's a 2 German teams competing at Wodapalooza, and I've obviously being in Germany, seeing some of them, seen a lot of them, and kind of evaluating the talent. They do have some up and comers, some younger athletes, and I think it's funny because most of them live in Hamburg. That the athletes will talk about from Germany. But Verena, yeah, she did really start off the day with an event win. Her and Matilda were on the first heat, and they were kind of going back and forth. It was kind of funny. They were coming back and on the paddle boards, and they're actually just talking, having like a casual conversation as they're coming back because they're really good friends. And it was just really cool to see. But yeah, she won that out of the first heat. I think Matilda finished second, and then the final heat, was just kind of a free for all. Oops, sorry, I don't know how to work this anymore.
That
Yeah,
was they did that one pretty early in the morning, right?
yeah, it was 7 a.m. local time, so it's
It
probably like
looked
9
beautiful.
p.m. your time. Yeah, the sun was actually coming up right when they started that first heat, and it was really neat. The water was great. If you know anything about the water on this side, I don't know if you've ever been out here at all, Mesa, in terms of the East Coast, but it's not the Gulf. It's actually the Indian Ocean that they're swimming in, so it's a little bit cooler, not as saltier
Mhm.
as the Gulf, and and where they're at was kind of in a bay, so it's a little bit shallower. People are probably going to ask, "Oh, it's swimming." Well, it was not a not CrossFit sanctioned event, and they had plenty of security. I mean, not security, but safety out there, and they had like 4 or 5 jet skis, but they had no more than 10 people going out at a time, and they're on paddle boards, and it's not very deep at all. And then they, for people who are uncomfortable swimming, they did offer them life vests. A couple of the athletes did take them up on that offer. So, um, I know the broadcast is a little bit hard to watch because it's in Arabic, but if you watch that event, some of the drone shots they have from that are just beautiful because you can see how big the scope of the resort that they're at, and they built a competition floor, which the final 2 events were at today. It's right in the parking lot, but it's really nice. Yeah, a really good crowd. Have you been to Mesa? Well, you probably haven't been to this competition because it's fairly brand new. So
I have not. No, I've been back to visit Dubai, but I haven't lived there in 12, 12 years.
yeah.
Aging yourself.
Yeah, thanks.
But
Don't worry, you're by far the youngest one here.
yeah, you are. You probably are. But yeah, it was a really cool, a really good opening workout. It really wrecked a lot of the women. I think the men's weight should have been a little bit heavier. They had a sled that they had to pull, and they put some weighted bags on top of them, and it was
They
through
were kind
sand.
of like dragging it through the sand, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now I
Well, we're
will
gonna
say,
get some version of a sled drag in Miami
Mhm,
as well, so it's kind
Mhm.
of cool.
yeah, and I was really impressed by Sahara. I mean, obviously, I'm always impressed by her, but her being one of the smaller athletes in this field, she did really well. And I think that might work to her advantage, being like a little bit lower to the ground. Sarah looked really good. I think she kind of broke down a little bit in that last round with the sled, but also think she probably had the hardest lane. Um, as even as fair as they wanted it to be, there were some lanes that just were had a little bit more hills to it. But yeah, that was the first event. Really cool. Women,
Sleds and controversy?
I
Unheard of.
know, right? Yeah, there were faster lanes and slower lanes. The men's side was, you'll see some of the times on the men's side, they were just ridiculous. They're just flying through it.
Mesa, what do you think about this conversation going on in the chat?
Oh, yeah, it's nasty out today. We're supposed to get snow on Tuesday, which is like unheard of for over here. Yeah, that's what they just said. Yeah.
Flip over to the men's side. I would say there's definitely some big names on the men's side. Maybe not quite as much depth in the top 10. And I think, who was it? Yes, Hosta is competing. And there is a way to watch. Patrick posted the link in the B.Friendly Fitness Instagram story earlier today. He'll do it again tomorrow for the day 2 of competition. As you were saying, it's in Arabic primarily, but some cool shots and some decent coverage.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, the men's field, obviously Luca was originally, he was one of the first people they announced. And he was able to, he kind of withdrew last minute to compete. I think the only reason why he withdrew is because he was doing team and Indy. If he was doing one or the other at Wodapalooza, he probably would have did this event.
You see
But,
the travel accommodations he had for the flight over here?
No, I didn't. What do you have?
It looked a lot nicer than minus 20 Celsius. What the heck?
Where are you?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But it's very interesting, this men's field. You'll see a couple names in there you haven't seen for a while. And if you look at number 2, Nassar, if that name doesn't look familiar, a couple years ago it probably would have been familiar. He's Kuwaiti. He competed 2 years ago it was 3 years ago in the Far East Throwdown and finished second. Actually had a game spot, and then he failed a drug test. He appealed it, saying that it was a tainted substance, and he only got a 2-year ban, and his 2-year ban is officially up. Not that it mattered; it's not a CrossFit sanctioned event. But he's out there, and there's another guy who was previously sanctioned that's competing. If I can find his name, this guy right here. Ryan, what do you know about this guy, lefty here?
Yeah, he had that great open finish. Everyone was like, okay. And then he competed in Dubai later that season. Didn't do so great. Didn't pass the drug test. His ban's also expired, though.
Yep. So he was there. What I kind of remember him for is him trying to start shit with Chandler in 2019, that ruck run. Or no, it wasn't the ruck run. It was the first cut. He was kind of like squeezing out Chandler. But anyways, but he's competing. But overall, Nassar's looking good. I mean, the guy's a fucking a brick house. I mean, a guy's bigger than Yella is, and wider.
Well, that's what I was looking at this list here. Unlike the women's side, where you got, obviously some of the smaller girls that are doing well, that are also just incredibly fit. Those first 4 guys, at least, are very big guys.
Yeah. And you said it to me as well, Marius. You're like, keep an eye out on him, and I've been really impressed by him. And he's been in that first heat the whole day today. So I think this performance might be a little bit more impressive if he was in that second heat. But that'll shake up tomorrow. But he's looked really good, really strong.
He's a name that I remember seeing on some of the Krieger teams a few years back, and then I was in CrossFit Oslo. And I saw this guy training, and I was like, dude, that guy is a beast. And they're like, oh, yeah, Marius Pedersen. You probably know him. You just probably don't know what he looks like. And I talked to him after he trained, and he said he's been like, I think he works full time. He comes in the morning and trains, works all day, comes in the night and trains. He's just one of these guys that's got no excuses. But yeah, he told me he had some intent to get back into competition. And so when you sent me the roster a day or two ago, I was like, yep, keep an eye on that guy. And you're like, oh, I will be, because you'd met him as well.
Yeah, I met him before, and then he's also the partner Oda, who we'll talk about later. That's her partner, or their partners. Yeah, and Kalian's look good. Obviously, he's local from the area. I mean, he's from Brazil, but he's an expat here. There's a lot of expats here, so it's really cool. A name on here that's maybe not doing as well as we thought he would is Toby. he's looked good, but I think some of the events maybe he just might have came out a little too hot. And but I'm foreseeing a pretty good day two for him. And I think with last year, I believe he podiumed here. I believe
It
or
looks like the
second.
points are incredibly tight. Like just on the screen you have here from even Bruno down in ninth to Kalian, who's in fourth, is only 19 points. And I didn't see what the top score, what Yella's score was, but it feels like there's been a lot of yo-yoing on day one. Yeah, it's basically a drop. The top two guys, then there's a big drop. It's only 25 points from third to ninth. So obviously a lot to fight for tomorrow.
Yeah, I think tomorrow will be a different day. I think there's going to be a lot of CrossFit and gymnastics, so there might be some change in some of this. Maybe with Nasser, I don't know how Nasser's gymnastics is, but I think some of these workouts. Talking to Sahar and Andrea at dinner tonight, they're like, "Yeah, tomorrow we're waiting for tomorrow. Tomorrow's our day." And if we
Well, I
look
mean,
at
I would say, yeah, that's great, but I mean, Jamie and Matilda are no slouch. Like
I
that's
know
going to be a battle, and
exactly.
only three of those women can possibly stand on the podium.
Yeah,
So
and again, look at
someone's going to have to be left out, right?
yeah. I mean, their goal is talking to all three of them, or to have an old Krieger podium. It's going to be very difficult with Jamie. Jamie's looked really good, and then the workouts favor for. But talking to Andrea, they're kind of looking at this kind of like NASCAR, where you have a teammate and you're trying to help each other out. I don't think any of them. I'm pretty sure deep down they all want to win, but I think that they also want all of them to be. They want to try to point, and they know that's the only way they could beat Jamie's if they work together. So you'll probably see some combination of some gamemanship and maybe some
Maybe, man.
teamwork.
Dude, Jamie looked so good in Dubai.
Yeah, and she looked really good here too. She has. The event three, she was all the last workout. She was all on her. She was by herself. And
There's a 15-second gap drop to Andrea, but I don't know if they were in the same heat, and 30
they
seconds
were
to
in the same
Matilda.
heat, but she was like four uh, lanes down, and but yeah, and then there's a big drop off on Andrea as well. I think the question everyone's asking is how Sarah's look. Sarah's look great, actually. I know it's a sixth, a fourth, a fifth, a fourth, but these aren't workouts you would expect Sarah to be really good at, especially against some of these other women. But she looks really good.
And
And
well, and by the way, like, look at the four names at the top. Those are, we've seen Jamie return to competition, and we saw her beat like almost everyone in a great field in Dubai.
Mhm.
Matilda Garnis coming back to individual competition has looked amazing. We know what Zahare's achieved in the last 2 years with the two best performances any woman from Asia has ever had throughout a game season. And Andrea Solberg, she also podiumed in Dubai 2 years ago. And like these women have been competing. Sarah Sigmundsdottir has been trying to find a way to get back on a competition floor, healthy, feeling good, confident, and also in a good headspace. And so, I think it's important to listen to what Patrick just said. It's like it doesn't need to be first, seconds, and thirds. Just
Yeah.
the fact that she's back out there competing, and the women that she's behind are like in the midst of very competitive parts of their career. It's great to have her there.
Yeah, and this is a great feel for her to kind of test herself too. I mean, these are games. I mean, Jamie, who's a podium, and then as late as a couple years ago, she might have had a top 10 if it wasn't for her injury at the games. She was looking really good. And then obviously we've seen Matilda and Sahar. Andrea's been there. You know, Andrea's getting better. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if Andrea is one of these athletes that makes it to the games this year. She has a big hole in a big hole is her ring muscle ups and her upper body pulling.
Didn't
And
they have some ring muscle ups today, or was that just the
they did,
teams?
they did, they did, and she did well in it. It was a combination of two total rings, and I believe three ring muscle ups into four ring dips. And Andrea finished, I believe, fourth or no, wait, where'd she finish in that workout? Oh, she finished fourth and fifth in that workout. Um, but but no, Sarah looks great. This is a great field for her. This is exactly what she needs going into Wodapalooza, where Wodapalooza is kind of going to be fun. Seems like her autoimmune, she's in a good headspace, and then I think she has her autoimmune for now taken care of. Like she's in a good spot with it in terms of taking care of it. I think it helps having a coach like Justin, like Kotler, who also deals with some of the same issues, and he's kind of, yeah, she just looks great. And then talking to her partner, she's been looking forward to this for a long time, to kind of just go on an individual floor against this level of competition. And yeah, for people that don't know, Sarah spends most of her time in the UAE. You know, she goes back to Iceland for holidays and to see family and her dog, but most of the time she does spend here in the UAE. And then they're in seventh. Like I said, there's kind of a drop off from her, but Evie's looked really good too. Not taking anything away from her. I mean, she's looked really good. But overall, just a solid field. There's tons of games athletes in here. We can go down. I mean, Julia Cato, Louisa.
I mean, Camila Takeavis had a great offseason. Luisa Marquez is a top 10 athlete in South America in the year she competes. Milana Jacic there in 13th is probably the second or third fittest from Serbia. She competed at Sand Clash last year that we were at as well. Dema Zebdaya there, who's towards the bottom. She's the fittest woman from Jordan. Did you get a chance to meet her yet?
I talked to her briefly. She's and Shahad. Go ahead.
Yeah, they're very nice. They're pretty shy. You know, they're very professional. But I know they had someone had sent a message, and I had said, "Oh, I hope Patrick gets to talk to them a little bit." Yeah,
I'm gonna try to hit him up today. It's been obviously a really busy day, and but tomorrow's a little bit more. I don't have as much to go on. I actually want to spend a couple hours on the beach at this resort I'm staying at, so get a little bit of color, get a base before I go to Miami. So, but yeah, I think overall, like if you want to watch it, it is available on YouTube. I'll put the link in. I'll put a link up tomorrow too, but I'll put a link in the chat. But if you
need that base, dude.
I do.
You're gonna get pride out there. You better wear one of those long sleeve, like boating shirts, fishing shirts, lightweight.
Yeah, with a bucket hat.
I should have got you one of those, a B.Friendly one or something.
A B.Friendly bucket hat. Oh, geez.
I did get you one of those.
This is where the nicknames come from.
Yeah, but
talking about your base tan.
Soy boy.
Soy boy.
Wrap up the UAE talk that nobody.
Yeah, so yeah, you can if you go to YouTube and just type in UAE Storm Games, their page will pop up. So it's been really cool, really good community event. It's really different than Dubai because there really is a crowd. You know, and I think they want a crowd to be here, and it's a very engaged crowd. A really good community event. They have other divisions as well. And they're just having fun. I think the location of it's at a resort, access to the beach. They just do a really good job with it. You know, so and then they have excellent support from the Emirate here. So, but yeah, UA Storm Games, really cool. I look forward to seeing how it ends. It looks like it's gonna be pretty exciting, at least especially on the women's side. I expect probably Yella to kind of pull away tomorrow. So, but yeah, that's Storm Games.
Weren't expecting that, were you, Mesa?
No.
I didn't prep her for the Storm Games.
It's okay.
I know.
Here.
We should have, and she could have gave the recap.
She could have, but I didn't even know. So let's switch to the main topic for today, which is I think one of the coolest divisions that's ever really existed in terms of team competition in the sport of fitness, which is the teams of 3 elite divisions at Wodapalooza. They, after the sanctionals era kind of wrapped up, 1.5 years of existence, they had shifted to the 4-person teams to accommodate that as part of the game's qualifying season. And since then, they've had this teams of 3. And I feel like they've been some of the most fun to watch, some of the most competitive competitions. You get huge names and also massive global representation here. I made Patrick do something that was tedious and demanding, which is to not just put all of the team names, but all of the individuals competing on the team here. It's not something that very many people take the time to do. But for us, it's important to recognize that just like the elite individual fields, there's so many people that sign up for the qualifiers at Wodapalooza. Obviously, some of these things are pre-qualified, but anyone who's on these teams that's making into this field, despite the range, we know there's always a range from the best to the worst, they're beasts. And even the team that takes last place here is really good. And so I wanted to make sure to give them all some credit. Mesa has had this information, my rankings, etc. Pepe, what's up, brother?
What's the weather, man?
for a couple days, and she's ready to tell me all the things that I screwed up on and why. And Patrick will probably do the same. So
I'm gonna back you up.
I don't know if I'm prepared for the accusations coming my way, but we're gonna go through it. And Patrick put the decided the order. He put the men first, so we'll just start on the men's side.
Yep. I figure we can end with the women, but let me start. We'll start from the end here. Sorry.
Brian, I need you to know that Owen is messaging me pissed off about what ranking you have for his team and saying he loves to be an underdog.
Well, that's perfect attitude. Zach, I think, also put a comment on the post that was.
He said you gave us 34th place and we got 5th in qualifiers and 1st in the United States.
Yep, that's right.
So, we'll see.
But you told me that you think they can finish in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm biased. I've seen them work out, train. I know some of the workouts they've tested, but I think they have a pretty well-rounded team. But let's see what happens.
The
Well,
most
Brian,
the most likely scenario is that they do worse than 10th and better than 35th.
Okay.
It's a big range, though.
Well,
I feel like that's not even a prediction.
No.
Well, let's look at this historically. How has Brian, just kind of off the top of your head, how has teams that have qualified for Wodapalooza through the qualifier, how they've done overall in the competition?
It's there's no like, oh, you won the qualifier, you're going to win the competition, and that's not even if you just took out all of the pre-qualified teams. There have been teams in the past. I think the training culture team 1 or 2 years ago qualified like first or second, and amongst the qualifying teams they were like middle of the pack. There's plenty of teams that will thrive on the online and won't do great in Miami. There's also teams that will just barely sneak in and then will outperform their qualifying rank once they get there. And there's a few different reasons for that. One of, the kind of maybe obvious one is that, sometimes just having short range of motion guys can help you cycle through it. That is not the case with Owen's team, by the way. They're bigger dudes. The other one is that a lot of the Wodapalooza qualifiers have been like if we were a team, obviously we're not all the same gender and when it qualified, but we would all do the workouts independently and then add our scores together. You don't actually have to be in the same place, so you don't actually have to do teamwork things to make that happen. There's no worms, there's no synchro movements. There's a lot of things that get tested in competition in Miami that you can't test online. And finally is that it's only 6 events in 2 days. And, the qualifiers are only 6 events over however long it is or whatever. And the things that get tested online are not necessarily the things that get tested on site. So if you're just going to make the rankings based off the online qualifiers, you'll certainly get some that look pretty similar, but I think you'll also get some that are very different. It's open forum to tell me I'm wrong, Mesa.
No, I think that's true. I think that there was a qualifier workout where they had to kind of work together. It wasn't all individual. The like AMRAP, do you know what I'm talking about?
Right, but they don't have to be in the same place to do the workouts.
Yeah, they did for one of them.
Are you sure? Usually they don't mandate that because it's so limiting.
I thought there was a AMRAP where they had to your teammate had to pick up where you left off.
Usually it's not like that.
But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with that. I think that these workouts are programmed in a way that favors a very well-rounded team. It's split differently than it has been before, in that you can really play to people's strengths.
Going through and liking all the hating comments?
No, not at all. I'm liking all the comments. But let's take a look at this bottom 4 here. Obviously, there was supposed to be 40 teams here. One team had unfortunately withdraw, and that was the team from Australia with Con, Royce Dunn, and James. They just we all know how big of a trip it is to come from Australia to here. It costs a lot of money, and it's just a little bit big. It's a huge cost, and a lot of those guys have other things going on. I will say Con will be there. Con will never miss a party, especially on a beach, but he'll be there, and we just don't know at what capacity yet. Well, we do know, but that's TBD. So, but you'll get plenty of Con. You'll see plenty of Con. For the Con fans out there, I'm a Con fan. But here we go. The bottom four. I highlighted the Krypton team because I think one of the cool things Brian mentioned is like, yes, it was tedious for me and it was a pain in the ass, but I think it brings a little bit more perspective. Especially when you're making picks and predictions and you have it on one spot and it's all there instead of like on Competition Corner, which is great by the way. But you have to click on a team name and you can only do that for one team at a time. Whereas something like it's already laid out for you, and hopefully this is somewhat up to date. This is probably the most up to date thing out there in terms of who's on the team. Obviously, it's Wodapalooza. People switch last minute all the time. But the name, what I like seeing is I like looking through there and seeing what names are familiar. And when I see that Krypton team, the name that sticks out, obviously Krypton, Alex Smith. You have their team at 36. Is there any particular reason why? Here you have a games veteran. He still competes here and there. Is just you just don't know much about the other guys, or are you just saying that?
I think it's kind of twofold when it comes to Alex Smith. I mean, the guy has not, from what I can tell, been necessarily training to compete at an elite level over the last couple of years, and yet he can still do it. We used to hear a lot of people talk about this when he was kind of at the prime of his career individually. He's one of these just anomalies. Like the things he can do are not, even the people he's competing against can't do those things. But at this point, I also think there's things that he can't do specifically on the strength side of things compared to the people who are training to be strong enough to compete at this level. So I don't know how well he'll fit in, but I think they'll probably be towards in the bottom quarter of the rankings.
All right. I mean, I'll kind of disagree on that because we did see Alec 2 years ago on that Krypton team with Ben and Caroline Connors. I forgot who was the fourth. She's forgot her name.
Well, Alex Smith. I mean, look, Alex Smith competed last year, teams of three. He's not. It's not like he hasn't been doing it. But his teammates last year were Austin Spencer and Christoph Horvath. It's a lot, and they finished 17th. Like that's very different than these guys. When he competed in 2022, Street Horner and Sam Danster, and the guys he's competing with this year are not
that level. Yeah,
those guys. They're not even semifinal level guys compared to games athletes. So I think it's very much a this is like a Krypton team, and they probably were like, hey, we need a teammate. And Alex like, yeah, I'll do it. I mean, he's competed in this division the last 3 years. It's just 2 years ago they had to withdraw with him and his brothers. So he's a mainstay. I think he has 6 total team appearances. The team you were talking about was Cody Mooney, Alex Smith, Jess Griffith, and Jamie Green. They won that year. He's been second before with his brothers in 2017, which was the first year that I went there. They beat the Panchik brothers, who took third. And I mean, he's one of the kind of OG WZA guys, and I love that he's competing again. But I think that this is more of like we're going there to compete. We're not looking for a podium or a top 10.
Yeah.
So, Alec, if you're listening to this, the reason why you're ranked so low is not because of you; it's the other 2 guys. So, if you got rid of those 2 guys and picked up any other 2, you probably have ranked higher. Blame those 2 guys. It's not about you, Alec. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah, of course it's a team. So it doesn't matter who the people are. If you have one A caliber athlete and one C and one D, relative to the if there's 120 guys in the field, it's not going to do as well as an ABB team, right?
Yeah.
Well, good luck to these 4 teams. Hopefully, you make Brian look like an idiot at some point in the weekend. And if you see him around, make sure you let him know. Or say something in the chat.
Or you could say, hey, man, thanks for including my name on the graphic.
Yeah, that's why you want me to put it on there. So that way,
I'm hiring security guards this year.
Let's move on to the next 5, 31 through 35th. All right. What can you tell me about this one? Let's not talk about 34. No, go ahead. Go at it, you two.
Do you want anything to weigh in here, Mesa, with these guys?
He said not to talk about 34.
You can. They're your boys. This is your chance to build them up.
No, I think you're wrong about it, but I think that we'll wait and see.
Fair enough.
I think Owen's one of the strongest people on the floor anytime he gets on a competition floor, even at the highest level. And I think there's some decent ways to showcase strength with this programming.
Big Owen fan right here. Owen, holler at your boy. We're there. I didn't pick you 34th.
Yeah, they could. I think that she's right. It's a strong team. They're going to have a couple workouts they'll do well on. I think there's a couple that they'll struggle on relative to the field. They could definitely do better than this, but like she said, let's see. This picture here is Travis Moore's on the right in the orange headband. You got to know him a little bit last year on the road, and he actually, as an athlete, he reminds me a little bit of Brittany Weiss. Actually, just like his genetics and physique should not like warrant elite level strength in the sport of fitness, and the guy just puts in the work, and he's just like committed to not, it's like different body type, but it's kind of like the Colton Mertens mindset. Like you tell me I'm short, you tell me I can't run, you tell me I can't bike, you tell me I can't, you tell me what I can't do, and I'll show you that I can do it.
Yeah.
That's how I would explain Travis. I don't really know Rivermore. I'm guessing it's his brother, and I've seen Austin compete before also, and I mean, these guys, in my opinion, these guys are just bottom third of elite division teams, which is still better than anyone who's probably listening to this. It's like amazing. So, oh boy, your friend is in the comments. Oh man,
What?
we'll just let that be. Move on. Patrick's distracted. Show me the next slide.
Oh, next boy. Guess he's catching up right now. And I would say that to your face. I would. If anyone knows me,
I'm just reading
I say what's on my mind. I say the truth. Brian knows that about me, but all right. Yeah. So 26th through 30th. You're right. He didn't block me. He deleted the comments or something, so that way they wouldn't pop up. Either way, I did. He did alpha stuff. Anyways, 26th through 30th.
One of the things that I'll try to do, and also I guess I'll have to defend at some point, is give some credit to some of the international teams that are in the field. This Overskog team is got some Scandinavian roots in it. Daniel Jepsen, actually, sorry to tell you that's a typo. It might have been on my end. I don't know. He competed at the Oslo Throwdown, the elite teams, the 2 division out of Denmark. And, you're going to start to see a lot of Scandinavian teams as we go through, especially the women's side, a few in the men's field. And I like having a chance to kind of give them some exposure. I like that their names are showing up there because these guys compete on teams a lot in Europe, but you'll never hear their names really, whatever. So it's always interesting to see how the team, especially the team athletes from Europe, end up doing when they come to North America and compete. And obviously a lot of the teams here in Miami are comprised of team athletes as well that compete in the North America East competitive region, which is the strongest field every year on the team side of things. So I just like getting to see what I think are the 2 most competitive team regions, Europe and North America East, kind of merging for Wodapalooza. You got any sleeper information on any of these teams, Mesa?
In this bracket of 4, I do not.
5. And
5, sorry.
There's a funny comment in here. It's right there. You can see it. Zach Freese writes, that Zach Freese dude sounds like a beast. And I think one of his teammates responded and goes, really? He sounds like a dud to me.
It was Wes Peters.
Oh, it was Wes, and Wes isn't on his team, but he is just obviously a friend of him, giving him a hard time. Did I screw up it? Do we mess up his name?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Zach Freese.
Our apologies.
Yeah. I will say I think it's 210 individual names that Patrick had to manipulate into a graphic for this. So,
well, I think I got the last name right. Maybe Zach with maybe no H or a K. Zach, if you're listening to this, tell us how to. I don't know. Yeah. Sorry. I just see what's on a teleprompter.
Oh, it should be Zane. That's probably
Zane. Yeah. Gotcha.
They're giving us a hard time.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next one because I know most people want to hear about the top ones anyway.
All
but we'll
right.
give them all. We'll try to give them all a little something.
21 through 25th.
Yeah. Mesa, I know you know the guys there in 21. You want to tell us a little about
Yeah.
them, where we could look for them?
Frank lives here. I've trained with him. He's coming off kind of sliding into Crash Crucible, and it didn't go, I think, as well as he hoped. So I know he's on the hunt to do a lot better here. He's a pretty fit dude. He's a bigger dude too. Um, I feel like we're seeing that a lot. Like a lot of the guys are a lot bigger recently than they used to be.
Yeah, there are some big guys, and there's actually a decent amount of competition experience on that team. Robert Yates competes both
Hmm.
individual and team at Fittest of the
Yep.
Coast. This is South Carolina. Hunter Osment comes from the Grit House training camp there in
Hmm.
North Carolina. So those guys got some experience for sure. And I do think that, that's why I have them kind of towards the top half of the bottom half of the field, is just because I actually know these guys. I know they have some team experience. Like you said, individually, even if you didn't do great at Crash is a very difficult competition to get
Just to
into at
make
this
it,
point.
yeah.
And overall, the programming there usually is heavy on gymnastics compared to most competitions. So that unless you're
Yeah.
like
JR loves some gymnastics.
unless you're like a super outlier as a big dude, that's going to be, generally a tough live
Yeah, for
competition
sure.
for you.
Yeah.
Alejandro Trios there in the three Colombian Elephants will be competing in the LATAM Cup competition the 2 days prior to this as well. He's the defending champion of that competition, actually. So it's a little stronger field this year. I'll be curious to see if he can repeat or find a podium again. But young guy out of Colombia, obviously, that has got a couple other Colombian guys competing with him. And let's see how they do. I would say this is maybe a little ambitious ranking for me.
Hmm.
For the South Americans, but you never know.
Shout out to Adams McAdams, one of the best names in the sport. So, semifinalists as well.
That's Patrick's contribution for this
love the
slide.
Adams. Yep. All right, moving on. 15 to 20. Now I can
we are going to give Patrick a chance to open things up here since you already teased the German teams. 16, we have Katronic Germany. You know a couple of these guys, PC. Yeah. At least you know Len pretty well now.
Yeah, Len and Carl Feldmer. Carl was on the German team that made it to semifinals. Brand new team. They all train out of Wish in Hamburg, which is a pretty big gym in Hamburg. All 4 of them started training together. They're still together. They did really good at IF3. They finished third at IF3, and I know people are saying IF3, but the team competition IF3 is no joke. That's where the Scandinavian countries, which are known for having stacked teams, which Brian and I will talk about later on. It's kind of like a proving ground. They're, it's government funded. Their teams are, so they did really well. They finished third. They one of his teammates competing on the women's side on the German team, but Carl is a part of that. Len is an individual athlete, also from Hamburg, very talented. I think I believe he's 25 years old. Guy finished third at IF3, was leading going into the final event over Colin Boshard and Tom Kingdon, and finished third. It was really close, but I really like the potential in Len. We talk about like that Moritz and Joshua was a Wittrup, the top German males. I think Len is in that next batch, right below them, and has a really good coach, really good training environment, really high-end athletes. Yeah, I can see them doing. I think 16th is a good spot for them, but I wouldn't be surprised if they finish maybe a couple spots higher than that.
Mesa, any individual athletes or teams on this slide that you want to say something meaningful about before I just make up some stuff?
No, I think with the men's field, it's so different than the women's in that the top 10 to 12 is pretty, you can guarantee it, and then the rest is just so up for grabs.
Yep, I would agree. These are these are good athletes in this range of the field. The guys on Los Campesinos, which I looked it up, by the way, that means peasant farmers. I didn't know that word, and it's interesting. Those are Canadian guys, so maybe they're rural Canadian guys, but they've got some team experience in the past. Tanner, Hank, and James also have some pretty good team experience. This team actually may end up doing better than they're listed at here. We'll see. The thing is that Tanner's potential is so high, but almost every competition that I see him compete at, I see him, I run into him, I'm like, bro, I'm super excited to see you. And he's like, dude, my knee, my back, my foot,
Can't
I
stay
haven't been able
healthy.
to do this or that. And it's just like, man, I just want to see this. So I'm not sure, but I would love to just see this guy at his best one time. You know, he's constantly working, he just can't get it,
Together,
whatever.
yeah.
James East, just saw him actually pop up on Fisa Gaffey's story. He was over at Mayhem doing some training. I think he's out of Indiana, but he's been on. He was on that. He had a weird team name that made the games 2 or 3 years ago. They would Podium at Crash Crescendo. Obviously, Max Krieg's down here. PC, you want to make any comments about the Army Warrior Fitness team before we flip ahead?
It's an interesting team. You know, obviously Max is kind of the headliner of that. I think might be the youngest one of them, but Krieg needs support. Yeah, good call. And his first name is Maximilian, so man, that's a strong German name. Yeah, Max looking good individual wise. So obviously, Wodapalooza is typically a big it's a big thing for the Army Warrior Fitness team. They're one of the name sponsors there, so they have, you know, this is their team that they're having in it. Don't know too much about Eric or Austin. I believe it's Eric or Austin. They train out of CrossFit Hard Knocks, which is right outside of Fort Knox, where the Army Warrior team trains at. So he's there. I think both of them have some semifinal experience on team.
We pulled the info over this team. Eric's listed at 36. Austin Dickinson's at 35. I'm gonna have to ask Barkley about this because for some reason in the age column for Max Krieg it just says 2.
Yeah. Well, I knew
20, maybe.
Yeah, I thought Max was the youngest guy on this team. I know Eric and Austin have been around for a while. We're talking these are like regional athletes.
Yeah.
I think one of the two made it 2018 regionals, and you know they're around, but they're which is good. They have team experience. It might help them out in the having that veteran experience might be good. I mean, we see it work with people like Willie George and some of these other guys that just come back just to do team events, for Wodapalooza. So it might benefit someone like Max. So
dude, and Max Krieg is one of these guys. Like if he was the worst guy on a team at Wodapalooza, they have top 10 potential. But if he's the best guy on the team, fitting into the top 20 is probably pretty good.
Yeah,
even though what Mesa said is true, there's definitely a drop off. The field is still deep. The teams are still all good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think any other year this team probably be a top 15 maybe. So, but this year being so stacked, I think they're fine with that. And a lot of the reshares we're getting are actually from people that know Max and that team. And I haven't seen any complaints about where we put them. So, that's good.
Let's go to the top 15 since you brought it up. And now we're going to really start to see some names that are familiar. Starting at the bottom, Team No Limits. These are some Brazilian guys. Super strong, pretty fit. Tato, actually, the first time I met Tato, it was in Mayhem, and Guy was just telling me, like, yeah, this guy's, he snatches more than me. And I was like, wait, what?
How's that possible?
And we referenced him on the podcast with Guy the other day. Guy was wearing a shirt that he had made. He was actually, I found out, in the other room, kind of making some comments. So that Mafa team, Brad Wilson actually withdrew from this team recently, so they probably won't do this well because he is a semifinal athlete in the North America East on his own. These guys are good. Like, they were really good. They were the team that was competing and beating Taylor and Bryson's team at Crash Crescendo last year before one of their guys popped his pec. So they'll still do well, but without Brad on that team, they'll probably slide down a bit from where I have them here. And now you're really getting into team like names that who these guys are. So let's see this. Mesa, do you know any of these guys 11, 12, 13, or have any thoughts about maybe that they should be inside the top 10?
Yeah, I think so Invictus Miami, that Roldan, who was on the team that made the games, that did decently well. He's kind of a well-rounded athlete. I don't know a lot about the other two guys on that team. I think that the Nick Matthews Tonka team might do better than you think. I think he kind of can go either way. He's so fun to watch. And I know that Brandon Shipper on his team is actually like a professional water skier. which I think if there is some like weird odd object athlete kind of things in the sand might benefit someone who's just
He's a
an
professional
athlete.
water skier.
I know someone here who water skied with him growing up, and he's a semi-pro or pro water skier.
Damn.
He
Cool.
was actually in like one of the Buttery Bros videos because they were at Nick Matthews' gym.
Okay. Good to know.
PC, what do you think about that team I put in 11th there?
You know, I'm a big 11-24 fan. I love those guys. They were one of my guys that I was telling you to watch out for at semifinals. And what did they do? They finished, they did really well.
Third, I think.
Yep, they finished third. And they did. I think they finished 11th at the games, maybe. Have to. But what I will say about this team, and especially with the addition of Joe, this might be the most hyped team you'll see out there. These three guys. I mean, if you know anything about these three guys, are just like they have fun out there. They love the spotlight. They love pumping each other up. These guys are bros. I mean, in the best possible way. And you throw someone like Joe in there, who's also a bro. I mean, I think Joe's from Jersey or Philly, but you throw him in this group right there. Joe, a lot of people know this about Joe. How many people touch and go the final barbell on the squat clean complex at semifinals here?
5 or less.
Less than 5. Joe's one of those people. He did that syndicate crown. A lot of people talked about Colton. A lot of people talked about Guy. I actually think there might have been those 3. Joe was the other person, and Joe made it look probably a little bit easier than Colton did. But yeah, those 3 guys will probably be the most hyped team. That hypeness might even move them into the top 10. They're going to have a crowd there, and they're going to be loving it. So I hope that they're in that first heat, because even if they finish last in that the final, even if they finish last in that final heat, you wouldn't know it. You'd think that they won it because they'll be hyping each other up, screaming and loving the crowd. Just a good bunch of guys. Yeah, big fans of all 3 of them.
I think you ranked number 10 too high.
We haven't gotten there yet. Anything else to say here?
I was just looking up something because I think people know Philip Muscarella and Roland Goldbaum if they watched the game season last year. Carlos Labarte, if this is right that I'm looking at, he actually competed at the IF3 World Championships dating back to 2018 out of Mexico.
Yep. How old is he?
Yep.
32.
Okay.
Damn.
He's a good friend of Roldan's.
All right, let's go to the top 10.
Top 10. Well, let's start with 10.
Too high, meaning like they should be 9th or better, or too high, meaning they should be 11th or worse?
11th or worse. I don't think they're going to be top 10.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
I think that Jack Farlow and Tudor Magda are the very, very similar athletes.
They're definitely strong. They're definitely not
known
for their long distance running.
Which maybe I'll give it. Hasn't Jack been like marathon training, so maybe his engine is better. But I think it's always like this with teams of 3, but especially this year, the programming favors a very well-rounded team. Like you can't have 2 athletes that are strength specialists. Like I don't think they're going to perform
like the 2-minute men.
Oh, okay. No, there's only one. No, I just think that Jack Farlow and Tudor Magda are both like really good with the barbell and have very big holes in their game.
By the way, Mesa, Lynn is one of our biggest fans, and she loves Jack Farlow.
Yeah.
I like Jack Farlow. Nothing I said was about disliking him.
See, this is what I was thinking with my rankings too, Melanie.
I just think he has a ways to go with
Benoit Boulanger made a comment, I believe, in the comments, and also might have messaged me personally and said, basically, thank you for that. And he's the type of guy that will use that as motivation and fuel. Look, these guys are good. They did qualify quite well, I believe, and It's I put them here at the bottom of the top 10. I think this is going to be within 2 spots of where they finish. So let's see.
We'll see.
We got the Vino brothers and one of their buddies right there in 9. This is like, I still think they have it. I don't think they're going to have any exceptional finishes, but I don't think they're going to have any exceptionally bad finishes.
Yeah.
And they'll just kind of come in here towards the bottom of Heat 1 or the top of Heat 2 type of place. By the way, we do have an article up. I put an article. Patrick published an article this morning, and most of the article talks about the teams that we're getting into now. So if you want to learn a little bit more about these teams and you like the reading consumption, you can go there. But this team in 8th, the Krieger team, 2 of these guys on this team, Jimenez and Bujar, were on the team that finished 7th at the games. Andreas Opsal's team didn't do as well at the games. They did better the semifinal, I believe, and he's actually got a little more experience than them. These are team athletes that have come through that Krieger training program. And if you're not a believer in how good that means that these athletes are yet, I'm not sure you've actually been paying attention to what's been happening with European teams and athletes over the last couple of years, because they're consistently showing up and doing well. And this is not an individual competition. This is a team competition that will demand teamwork, will demand worm work. These guys are monsters on machines, monsters without object stuff. These guys for this particular competition are pretty good. I think they're a lock for the top 10.
I actually agree with that.
Hey,
yeah, that's one.
Patrick's not going to disagree with that either. The 2 teams ahead of that, Patrick, are all comprised of prior or current games athletes as individuals. Training Culture puts a team out every year. This is a different flavor than most years. Only one Spaniard. They got Michal out of Poland, coming off a great performance in Dubai. Peter Ellis, obviously, coming off the rookie year out of Oceania. And then you got Jukic, Lightfoot, and Fiebig. That's a pretty strong team. Thoughts about how well or not these 2 teams can do against this field, Patrick?
I really don't know. I think I probably have to favor the Training Culture a little bit because of that. I mean, Wazlowski and Callum, they know each other. They've trained together here and there. Peter is kind of an interesting take on that. But of course, I think what happened is these guys. Well, I know Callum. He went to Australia and probably ran to Peter like, "Hey, you want to get a team for Wodapalooza?" And like, sure, why not? And there you go. So there's some level of experience and knowledge with each other. I think with the Smart Wad team, individually, these are great athletes. I just don't know how they're going to be in that team environment, especially as rookie, especially as
also,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, especially as rookies. Well, Harry isn't a rookie to Wodapalooza. He's actually competed at Wodapalooza. This will be his 3rd year competing at Wodapalooza as an individual. And his 1st year on a team, though. Oh no, second as a team. But Luca and Moritz has been to Wodapalooza. He wasn't able to compete because then he got sick, I believe, 2 years ago, and was kind of confined to his room or something like that, or he was looking for a team as well. I don't know. It was something weird like that. But I think that those 2 teams there are interchangeable. Obviously, they have some name value there, but on star power and accomplishments, I probably have to give it to Smart Wad.
Mesa, now it's your turn.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, and I think for Smart Wad, just they're 2 of those athletes, correct, are competing in individual. And I think just there's not enough. We don't know enough about their stamina, endurance at that elite level of a competition to know that they can compete individually and then team and be able to keep that level for that long.
Fair enough. I mean, I think Harry did last year. Luca's got as much competition experience under his belt, week in, week out over the course of the last 2 years as anybody. I mean, these are fit guys. This is one thing I just wanted to throw out there. This is because they do have, I think, 2 times they have to use the worm. They have the synchro, all 3 synchro on the totem bar. For the people who are familiar with the metric system, because that's what I have it listed in here. Callum Clements and Wazlowski are 185 centimeters tall. Peter is 170 compared to 185. I mean, that's he's going to look small out there and compared to
Yeah.
him. But trying to sync up those movements when there's that big of a height discrepancy 2-1 is going to be, it'll be interesting to see.
He's not going to have to do a lot of work on the worm.
He's just gonna be hanging on it.
No, it's interesting. Like for example, when they have to go overhead with the worm, I think the standard that's now is that the hips and knees need to reach extension for all the athletes. The arms don't have to, but for him, his arms are probably going to have to.
Yeah.
I want
Anyway.
to. If he's in the middle, I want him to hold it, and then they like lift him off the ground with the worm.
Dude, I mean, Mihal and Callum are big guys.
Yes, very big.
And they're super fit. They, Callum had a good performance in Dubai as well. These basically, look, these are good teams. I saw someone had said, I'm surprised SmartWads in 6. I don't know if that's a surprise good that they're that high or bad that they're that low. But when you get into this top 10, something that you definitely have to think about is what Mesa just said, is which of these teams are competing on Thursday, Friday leading into this, which teams are coming in French, which teams have a little combination. And then if you don't necessarily have the data to say like, okay, well, we know that Vellner has done this before and still won in the team, that's a different story than someone like Moritz, 2.5-day competition. He's incredible. When you've put him into the 4-day competition format at the games, his performances drop a lot. So, now he's competing for 4 days. He looked amazing in Belgrade. We didn't get to see him in Dubai. I believe he's at the top of his game physically, but it's still a sort of this element of you got to show it to us. So definitely teams on this list that could do better, certainly could drop out of the top 10, but I feel pretty good personally about this portion of the leaderboard for my rankings.
I think you brought up something there, and it's like you have some teams here coming that are just training specifically for this. It's kind of like with the Swedish team last year. They didn't compete individual. They just came in to compete on team, and they finished second or third?
Oh, yeah, the women's side or the men's side?
The women's side.
Yeah, we'll get to them. They were second.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to bring up is like some of these names you're going to see here, and when we go, it starts here, and we go into the top 5. You're going to look at the list of athletes. You're like, oh yeah, and then you're going to see another team that you're not going to know any of the athletes. You're like, how do you have them so high? Because that team isn't a bunch of individuals. They train. These are team athletes that probably training specifically to do this, and they're in the same spot, the same area. They're not. I doubt Jack, Benoit, and Tudor. I don't think Tudor's, flying over to Toronto or Montreal to train, a week before. So
let's take a look at the top 5. Got some heavy hitters on this side. There's 4 teams on this list that have at least one member, I guess, or 2 members that have made the podium before or been really, really close. If not, I can't remember if Jason maybe got 4th last year. But this is a stacked field. I'll talk about the 3rd team in a minute, but Mesa. Last year, Saxon and Jorge were on a team with Roman. They took 2nd place. I dropped them down to 5th because they got Guy here, and I think the field's a little better. Do you think that this is a good spot for him? Too high, too low?
I think it's too high because of a few reasons. I think Roman was kind of the glue on that team. He's just like the very well-rounded athlete and is so good at machines. I think putting in Guy changes the dynamics of that a lot because he's like a high skill, high strength person, and that Jorge is kind of too, like where I don't know that Guy is going to like do as well on machines as Roman would have. I think
hardly anyone's doing as well on machines as
yeah,
Roman. Fair.
I think Saxon has underperformed in comparison to what he's been ranked in a lot of situations, not last year, obviously, on that team. But I will say they're all probably like from the camps they come from, good with the worm, good with team things. So maybe I think it's a little high. I think they're going to be closer to like 8, 9.
Damn.
I like where they're at. I mean, talking to Roman last year prior to this, he said, this is Jorge's team. Jorge's the team athlete. So he leaned on Jorge a lot for
Mhm.
last year, and he gave a lot of credit to Jorge, and Saxon did too. I mean, Saxon has experience, especially in these formats, these 3-man teams, usually with Spencer or Scott. But Jorge. No, I mean the guy's proven. He was a he's won the team at the games, and he knows how to
Yep.
move a worm. He knows how to help people out. So I don't think they're a third. I don't think they finished third, but I don't see them. I mean, I could see them maybe going down to eighth, but Guy is the kind of the question mark. Um, because you said that Jorge and Guy are kind of similar in certain aspects, but I think Jorge's experience with the team, helping
For
those
sure.
out, and the thing is, they have access to worms. That's the thing. Is like
Yeah, that's
those
what I was saying,
train
yeah.
that they run, they have a 3-man worm. They probably already practice all these workouts with the worm, and they probably already
Mhm.
have a game plan already in mind. So, and that's Jorge being knowing Jorge. That's probably what he's putting in their brains. Like, hey guys, we're coming to win. There's money on the line. There's big money on the line. We can
Mhm.
walk away with 10 grand a piece. Let's cut back on our training today and do some worm stuff. So, yeah.
Saxon and Guy are competing individually, so could potentially factor in. You got a team in fourth that has never not podiumed. I think the three of them together, and none of them are doing the individual
Mhm.
competition. Patrick, do these guys podium this year?
Yes.
Mesa, does the boys make the podium this year?
I think 4th is accurate. I think they're gonna be, like, pushing for podium, but not get it. I think it's hard to tell, like, we saw Noah at Rogue, but he was just coming off of an Ironman, so we don't really know exactly where his fitness is, but I think, like, they're yeah, I think that's accurate. I think they're gonna be close, but Travis and Noah are on the ends of their career. I think it's gonna be hard to keep up with some of the people that are, like, in their prime.
So you think Team Sweden's a good pick for third?
Y Yeah,
Because if
maybe.
they're if because look, the top two teams, I think we all probably would place them on the podium. If you're not
Yeah.
going to put the boys on the podium, who are you putting in there?
Well, my podium
It's
has 5 teams on it. I'm just saying.
Oh, you're one of those guys.
Yeah. Just saying.
Look, I will say this. I think the safe money is probably on boys to finish three. Like if you're trying to make the safe picks here, they are really, really obviously pretty much the most experience you're going to find in terms of this format. Very comfortable here. Yes, they're towards kind of the back end of their careers, but they're still got it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
They know how to work together, adapt on the fly, like all the things that you want to check in terms of how to
Mhm.
maximize potential. Some of these teams to the top have some individual athletes, like the PJ's team, like the Mayhem Chase Lecce's team, like we said. But most of these other three teams in here coming for the team competition. Look, Team Sweden, I write about him in the article. Alexander Ilibro is
Mhm.
like he's been competing at the games on a team since 2016, and I think he's as good as he's ever been right now. He and Maria Langfors destroyed everyone other than Matilda and Henrik in like those two teams were so far ahead of everyone else at Oslo Throwdown a couple months
Mhm.
ago. Victor Lundal, in the meantime, just like waltzed over the competition and won 5 out of 6 events, I think, en route to the individual championship there. And they've got some team experience together. There we go, Pepe. Look, if you're in Europe, you know that this is a good team.
Yeah.
If you're in North America, you don't necessarily know that. Third is an aggressive pick. I'll give that to them. But I'm basically like sticking my neck out and saying, I believe in these guys to be one of the top 5 teams in this field. And that's what they've come there to do. And I think that they can podium.
Yeah, I love that.
You know how I feel
Uh,
about it. I like Alexander. I think after seeing them at the IF3 again, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, it's the IF3," but man, that's such a high level competition for teams. And talking to him, he said he just, you know, they were excited. The team, I mean, just everything about them. And I think they want to do what the women did last year. The Swedish women did last year, where they kind of surprised everyone in podium. I think the
Mhm.
guys trying to do that too. And this is a good team. I mean, these guys know what they're doing, and they're really close. They train a lot. Like I said, that's why I pulled up that clip. That was Alexander and Philip. training for it. Victor, or not Philip, it was the Victor that was with him. But and then they just had one of the mini stuff.
Philip competed individually at IF3s. He placed in fifth place there, I think. No, these guys are good. They've got some potential. I wanted to put him here to draw the attention that it did draw of whoever said I must have been paid off to put him that high, because when they are doing well, when they're in the last heat, I want you to know who they are.
Yep.
I thought this was a pretty tough pick at the top for a couple different reasons. Vellner and Adler both slated to compete individually. None of the guys on GoWad are, and GoWad has, quite frankly, just been impressive the last 2 years, I think. And everyone looks at their team, they're just like, yeah, but Willie George. Well, what about Willie? They won it last year. Except the year before that.
Every year, this is his game. He prepares for this.
Yeah.
I think on paper, and we talked about this on paper, like Pat, Jeff, and Jason are amongst the top 5 rated men in the world based on performance, any way you cut it. They have 3 of those guys on one team. That's the favorites. Mm-hmm. Can Justin Dallin and Willie beat these guys?
I think for sure they can. I think that 1 and 2 is going to be up for grabs and back and forth. I don't think that you can, without a doubt, say either of those are going to win. I'm very excited for Jason and Dallin to be trash talking each other all weekend.
PC, you like PJs here or GoWad?
I'm gonna go with PJs because I'm gonna throw this rumor out there. A rumor has it, I'm gonna throw it out there, that Hopper bought a bunch of Clemson jerseys for Vellner and Adler to wear, even though they know nothing about what football is. They have the CFL. That's CFL, but that doesn't count because they play on an operation that they play with more people. Stupid rules, but yeah, that's what I'm going at. That's why Hopper went up to Canada to drop off their
sizes.
Yeah, that's why they were shirtless.
Only reason, yep.
Yeah, that's why they were shirtless. But
I mentioned this in the article. I mean, in all seriousness, given the caliber of the athlete that those guys are, for Jason to make the trip up there and train with those guys for a few days,
they mean business.
There's to me, there's no doubt about it. These guys want to win, like you said about some of those teams that are coming and specifically training for this. Even despite the fact that Jeff and Pat have an individual competition, this appears to be something that they are specifically showing up to do.
Yeah,
for sure,
definitely. And I think it's fun. I think they enjoy it. I mean, was it a couple years ago where Brent and Pat did the individual and they won, and they gave Jeff all the credit because he was the most well-rested one of the group. So they're like, yeah, Jeff won this for us. But I think Jason's kind of playing that role this year. And I think collectively, looking at the workouts, and Jason's done some team stuff. I mean, he's done Fit Fest. They did work.
This is the interesting thing. He was with Dallin and Ricky last year, and they didn't make the podium, which is to say that the best athletes on paper don't always win this thing.
Yeah, but I think that's like a testament to why he went up there, because one of the things that's probably going to trip up 3 really good individual athletes is the worm. So I'm sure that's like what they were doing this whole past however long he was in Canada for, was just worm work.
Yeah. Plus traveling double unders.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the men's field. Probably top heavy, but still deep. I think there's not that many teams that could win. A few more teams that have a chance to podium, and a lot of teams that have a chance for the top 10. Just to kind of summarize on the men's side, full field of ladies competing. Again, a very international field. We'll kind of cruise through the bottom half here. Mesa, if you have a specific team that you want to highlight at any point on here, let us know. Otherwise, I'll just give some kind of overviews here. Katie Price, Daniel Lopez, Solange, local team to Miami there. Katie Price, the wife of Dylan Malitsky, who's the overall competition director or vice president of Loud and Live Sports. That's kind of cool. She's occasionally shows up in these individual elite divisions. She's really good. Jessie Kuhlman, got to see her and her sister compete at a competition in South Carolina. You know her, Mesa? Do you know these other girls?
Yeah, I mean, they competed at Sacred Pine. I competed there too, so I've competed against her. Jessie is insanely strong.
Yeah.
Yes, she is. She's a Florida Grid League athlete too. She's a specialist.
Yeah. And yeah.
We got a couple South American teams there. Nita Martinez, Maria Camila Cantero, probably the two most recognized. I think Maria's competing individually as well. Lycan is, been supporting some teams at the Wodapalooza for a couple years. I think they have another team in there also. Sometimes it's difficult to know how well their teams are going to do, and sometimes the team that you think is going to do better of the two don't. So always kind of curious to see how they stack up, but they definitely have some competitive experience. So yeah, just a little overview of the kind of the teams at the bottom here.
Yeah, and if you know how Hiller sometimes ranks athletes based on the social media following, if that was the
Fabiani?
case, yeah, in this case, RxSG would probably
Yeah.
win the competition. I mean, collectively, that team probably has 1.8 million followers because Paula. People that don't know Paula is actually a really accomplished gymnast specialist for Grid League. If you watch a
Mhm.
Buttery Bros video that they did with the Grid League, it was Paula there with. She's very
Yep.
talented, especially in the butterfly rings, and really talented on her hands. But Paula has she's for the Miami area. Really good friends with Celia. They actually competed at Wodapalooza multiple times, usually in the RX division. I think the one year they won the RX division. Might have been 2 years ago. Yeah, so that's kind of where they're at. So, all right, moving on.
Next one's up here. Ooh, Amanda Fisher. You talk about some strong athletes. Talk about some
Yeah.
grid athletes. I think
Yep.
she snatched I don't know what it was the other day, 220 or something,
Mhm.
215.
She's
And
done super well at Fittest of the Coast too.
put this comment there, and I was like, that was the easiest overhead squat I've ever seen. Like you wanna see something. Just wait until the last 10 reps of the overhead squat workout when she gets her hands on that bar, and she's gonna literally do those in 10 seconds. It's gonna be
Yeah.
fun to
She's
watch, and I think the broadcast will make sure to capture that. I know some things about the athletes on this page, but like not a ton. Again, we have a couple from the Team Wadla here. I'm not sure if they're all from Denmark or not. Nico probably is going to get
No,
mad at me for that.
I think Sophia is actually from Norway.
Denmark, Norway. Yeah, you're right. Oh, Rika is also Norway.
Norway, yeah. Sabrina is from Denmark. She's
love to see Wadla supporting a team here. That's our boy Roger. Obviously, covered a
get
couple
better,
of-
Roger.
Yeah,
Get better.
man. Thinking about you, brother.
Yeah, it's really cool, seeing something like that and representing. And these are some of the young up and comers. They're all training. Yeah, Sabrina, she's a pretty good athlete. I believe Sophia and Rick are as well. So those two are like inseparable. Full a lot of energy. Some people say they're like almost sisters. But that'll be fun to. I mean, this will be a great experience. That's another thing. You see a lot of these, these teams coming from out of country. A lot of them will be their first time in the U.S. and to go to Miami of all places to be a part of this just fitness festival. It's crazy. I mean, I remember the first time I went to Wodapalooza. It was just like, and I was judging, and it was just like an assault on my senses, which was a good thing. So imagine how it is for an athlete, especially, a young athlete, and all they've heard about is what other people told them and about Miami, about the United States, and they make a trip over for this, and they're just like, and they're in the same training warm up area as Emma Lawson and the daughters and stuff like that. So it's a really cool thing. That's a unique thing about Miami. That's a unique thing about Wodapalooza, TYR Wodapalooza.
Mesa, have you been to Wodapalooza before?
I went in 2020, like the week before COVID.
Still,
When
it was still a good. I mean, you got a
It
great
was
experience. That
awesome.
was a great year. Yeah,
It was honestly the most fun competition I've been to.
and you're coming back this year, so that'll be cool.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I was waiting for Pepe to throw something in the comment. We do have the German ladies up here in 31st. Don't know as much about these women as the men do, but they compete pretty much every year at German Throwdown, and Kay seemingly has the best finishes there amongst the three.
Mhm.
Next,
I these those women I don't know as much. I know more about the other German team that we'll talk about later on, but um, Mirza and I think Kay, I believe, yeah, I believe all of them compete at German Throwdown. So yeah, be interesting to see how they do. Next,
got a lot of honestly, not like the women's field is. Oh, okay, competed semis in Berlin also. This is like where you can really start to see how deep the women's field starts to get, because you got some
Mhm.
pretty good athletes on here. I mean, Madeline, top 20 in individual in European semifinals 2 years ago. Marika Seppala competed at a couple competitions in Europe. So we've covered. Iris is coming up. She's usually on the Capital 10K team out of Finland that has made the semis the last couple of years. Sinna Samseth competed in Norway and Oslo Throwdown. She was great there. Susan Trepner qualified for Dubai. Anais was in Bilbao. Obviously, people are going to know like Allison Scudds, Lauren Saw, and Allie Weiss a little bit better. But the point is that we're looking at we're still in the bottom half of the field, and we got some pretty well accomplished athletes here.
Mhm.
Any teams on here in particular that you two want to highlight?
I think Lauren Stahl, the Frogs in the USA, could do better than that. I mean, they all three of those are super experienced athletes. I know Allison Scudds hasn't been a games athlete, but is just been around and been in the game for so long. Allison Weiss is kind of back on the come up, I would say, from kind of taking some time off. She's looking like stronger than she's ever looked. And then Lauren Stallwood is a great athlete too.
I would. I mean, I think I would have had him higher if Sydney Smith wouldn't have, would have stepped back, or
Hmm.
she's, she was originally on the team, and that's nothing against Allison or any. I just think Sydney Smith is one of those young up and coming athletes,
Yep.
and she is talented. It's unfortunate because we were actually going to see her, you know, see her do some individual stuff at Wodapalooza, but
Hmm.
I think at the last minute, getting someone like of Allison's caliber, I think that's really good. I don't think
Yeah,
they're 29th. I think they're a little bit better than that. But I think
me
they're
too.
obviously a better team if they had Sydney Smith on that team.
I would say that the team on this list that I'm kind of most curious to see how they do is actually the one I have in 30th. These are three women out of Denmark, and Pernille actually qualified really highly in the individual field for this competition as well. So she's slated to compete in both. She was also fourth at German Throwdown this year. And Celia, I think, I'm not sure if I'm saying that perfectly, Zillow was on team Butcher's Lab team. They got 11th this year at the semifinals as well in Europe, which is obviously a good field. So likely unknown to most of the North American. We will get to see Pernille a couple days before, but really not sure where they'll fall, as I was referencing on the men's side, but they've got some competition experience and potential to maybe do a little better than this year too.
Hmm.
Well, I want to bring shout out to Frog Grips. I mean, they already have two. I mean, just on this page, they're sponsoring two teams here, so that's not bad for a company who's getting their their grips banned by CrossFit. So, more power to them. Moving on.
Again, we're getting into some, we're still in the bottom half of the field. We have some great athletes here. This is a really strong team out of Finland. They messaged me today to make sure to let me know they weren't happy about this. So great.
You're betraying Finland.
Did you want to talk about one of these teams here, Patrick? Is this in 24?
Yeah, the team I highlighted, that was the German team I'm talking about. Vivian Marie Christian. She's part of part of that German team from IF3 that's been together for 2 years now. Um, I saw some great potential out of her. Still relatively young. Julia Jacobson. That's probably the woman. When we talk about Verena, she's probably right there. That's twice I've seen Julia compete. I saw her at German Throwdown where she finished on the podium, and then at IF3 she was very impressive at IF3. Also from Hamburg, all these women. I believe Jana. I don't think Jana's from Hamburg, but the other ones are. So this is a team to keep an eye out on. They know each other. They've trained together. I think they're good at 24, but they could be a top 20 team depending on how things fall for them. Hopefully, I
Yeah,
did.
they're all
Okay.
they all come out of a lot of them have Heart and Heavy listed as their affiliate, and I think Heart and Heavy had a semifinal team last year or the year before. Maybe even a couple
believe-
years before. I've definitely
I believe,
seen that affiliate represented well. Like they have good teams that come out of there.
yeah, I believe that's Julia's gym is Hard and Heavy because I think Vivian, she trains out of Wish, but again, they're all in Hamburg. It's all kind of, yeah. Hamburg's a big city in Germany, and there's a lot of gyms there. But yeah, but no, you're right about that gym that Julia trains out of.
By the way, Katie's texting me right now, Dylan's wife.
Oh gosh,
She's guaranteeing a 37th place finish.
nice. Hell yeah, Katie.
No, again, as we move our way up here, Syria Meha, interesting to see her on this team. We've covered her a bunch this year. She's competed a lot as the fittest woman from Albania. She also made the semifinals. I don't know how she knows these girls. There's nothing that's like a lot of the other ones that, like Patrick was talking about that team. And they obviously, it's understandable how they know each other. So I don't know what her connection is to the UK. But Anita and Megan are both also like competitive athletes in their parts of the world. This is a team that I have. It's really difficult for me to project how they're going to do, but they're pretty good. So I just kind of put them here. Hannah Hardy's obviously had some success on the team side of things. She has been able to qualify for high level competitions as individual. It doesn't necessarily do that well there. And then you got I guess that's a long team name, but the Chocolate Star Box, whatever, coming out of Australia. And these girls got some team experience too. So a lot of experience in this range of the leaderboard and a lot of international representation. I would not be surprised if one of these teams does quite a bit better than this, and if a couple of them do a little worse. But based on kind of experience alone, I sort of just slotted them here, getting towards the middle of the list.
Yeah.
Top half, let's go.
Boom.
Mesa, any teams on this part of the list that you want to open up with? We're getting into, I'd say, like the much more recognizable names here.
Yeah, I think the All-American girls, Trish Smith, Grace Lochner, could do a lot better than 17th. They're just so young. I don't know a lot about Ava George, but
Oh, that's good
Trisha's
because the
been
one on this call does.
Yeah, she's actually
that's
the oldest person on that team at 21 years old.
Mhm.
Ava Ava has actually of the three, she has team experience. She's a team athlete. She's been
Okay.
out. Yeah, she's been out in Vegas training with the Underdogs crew. Well, now she's a proven athlete, and they came up basically a place out of making the games. They tied the
Mhm.
other Underdogs team last year that got a backfill spot due to a drug failure, and they were actually tied, and they took the other Underdogs team because they had a higher placing in one of the other events. But she's does really good in the open. Yeah, really talented. But yeah, she's pretty much the. Yeah, I agree with you.
That probably makes Mesa feel even better about what she said.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I agree with you. Yeah, I think that this has a team with potential here. Yeah, and it's the only thing I'm concerned about is Grace and Ava being a little bit taller than Trista. We were talking about that earlier, but I don't think that
Yeah.
makes too much of a difference for women than it does with men. We're
Yeah.
only talking a couple inches, whereas men it could be anywhere from
A
Dude,
much bigger
I
range.
think it's like 7 inches that the guys we were talking about. This might be like 3-4
yeah,
inches.
it's 3 or 4, not that big of a difference. But Trista's such a great athlete that she can make up for it, especially when it
And
comes
so
to
strong.
squatting.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when it comes to squatting. So yeah, I really like that, especially that.
Like
Yeah,
you guys were talking about with Jorge, I'll be curious to see who kind of emerges as the leader on that team.
yeah. I mean, I really don't know. I mean, yeah,
We got another super young team on this list right behind them, 18. The Little McDaughters coming in hotter. Reese, Lucy, and Burgos are combined like 50 years old.
Yep.
But they are so freaking good.
That's the podium from. Isn't that the podium from the 16 to 17 this year?
I would have to check to confirm for sure, but I mean, if it's not, it easily could have been. These are
Very
obviously
fit. Yeah.
Reese was so impressive in in Knoxville. Lucy's been competing and getting opportunities to compete against high level athletes. Bergos is, we'll see. We've been kind of waiting for someone else from Iceland to like emerge and fill the the massive shoes that we're going to talk about of the past, especially on the women's side there. But no, these girls got a ton of potential, and there's always on the women's side these days some young girls or young groups of girls that end up competing against the best, and they can hang.
And
I
I
believe
think team. Oh, go ahead.
no, no. Well, I believe Reese and Lucy are also competing individuals too, so that's something to keep an eye out for. Um, you know, they're competing in the individual. Um,
Yeah,
so
but
we'll
when
see.
you're 16, you don't need to recover that hard.
Or yeah, you don't know. I mean, they're maybe not used to that. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but um, either way, yeah, I'm really interested to see how they do.
I'm gonna guess that when Jessica, Nina, if Kenzie, if they see this, that they're not going to be very happy with me. I mean, you guys gave a lot of love to the fact that Mayhem has all the things at their ability to train there.
hmm
These girls are good friends with each other. They train all the time. Do you think I was a little harsh on them here, putting them 20th?
No, I think that makes sense.
I
I think
mean,
it's just such, you have to look at, it's just such a stacked field, that top like 15 down, that getting 20th in this field is like the equivalent of top 10 in most fields.
Thank you for saying that. Usually, I have to be the one to say that.
yeah.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, the caliber of athletes in the women's side is, I think, best we've ever seen.
The other two
I
teams in
also
this portion of the leaderboard are a team out of Mexico. Mariana Mesa, like Alejandro Trios, is the defending champ of the Lat Am Cup. So it'd be fun to see her. Obviously, Paulina is super strong. Ana Castaneda's got some competitive experience. I think this team will do better than the other Mexican team that I talked about. I put a pretty big gap between them, so we'll see. And then up in 16th, another Danish team coming over. Astrid also qualified individually. These are the girls that are usually on Butcher's Lab. Mia Furu, I'm not sure if she competes on their team or not. I think it's the other two that usually do. But yeah, these girls are likely, again, unknown by most people in North America. And I don't know if they're good enough to make the top 10 here, but they're definitely good.
I think Team X and D might be one to watch for doing better than 15th, just because Emily and Hannah were on a games team together. So
Oh,
they,
let's flip to the next slide.
well, before we
oh,
leave, I was
sorry.
going to say is how you said that Jessica and Nina might be upset about this. I think any of these teams right here could finish any of these spots here. Like, you know, that they can easily be 16th. So
Yeah,
I think
this is a tough range on this in this field.
yeah,
hmm
yeah, I think that's just how it fell. So I mean, 20th to 16th, we're looking at these are all interchangeable teams right here, and I think it kind of dips into 15 through 11 as well.
Okay, let's Mesa, go ahead with team 15 there.
Sorry. But Emily and Hannah were on a games team together. They've trained together at Invictus. They are like also very complementary athletes. I'd say Emily's like a freak at anything conditioning, and Hannah's the strongest, one of the strongest, if not the strongest athlete on the floor, any floor she's on. So I think they have the potential to do really well, honestly.
Patrick?
I kind of like this recipe we're kind of seeing here for some of these teams where they have two athletes that are very similar in fitness and abilities, and then they have like an athlete that's like a powerhouse, kind of like the X Factor. It kind of reminds me of like any team that Toll has been on, but but it just kind of balances each other. And not that Hannah lacks in any of those, but she's strong. So if they have a scored event that requires a big lift or something like that, or someone that needs to take the brunt, they can throw it to someone like Hannah, and because when we do, we very rarely see, especially if it's outside of the worm, all three teammates working at the same time. So you can always have an athlete that's not as strong as something kind of resting. But if you have
Or if they
high-
are like, there's that one where they have to run row, jump rope, so you can kind of like pick your,
Mhm.
put the people
And
where they're will do the best.
Emily and Elizabeth are very similar in terms of their capacity
Mhm.
and their abilities in CrossFit, just functional fitness. And Hannah is very good at those as well, not at the level maybe those two are yet, but she has that strength that neither of them have.
Yeah.
Stacked teams in this field, I would say, in this portion of the field. I mean, look, Molly, Zoe, Stevie Dellinger are
Mhm.
games athletes. These are games teams athletes.
Mhm.
Stevie's been on the Grit House team. Molly and Zoe out of the Mayhem teams. Hattie Canyon made the games individually this year. Madison McElhaney has been competing individually and on teams for a while. Alicia Shower is from the Omnia teams that have placed in the top 10 at the games before.
Mhm.
Like, this is just like we were talking about, the depth of field on the women's side. And that's why, like, as good as the teams look in 16 through 20, you start getting up here and you're like, what the heck? This isn't even the top 10 yet. That in the team in 12th, again, the Frogs are showing up here. I asked someone in the UK to make sure I wasn't overstating this in the article. This is the best team of 3 women from the UK
Mhm.
that there's ever been.
Mhm.
Each of them on
Yep.
their own have achieved pretty impressive things in the past couple of years, and I still didn't find a way to get them in the top 10. And you could say the exact same thing about the girls out of Switzerland in 11, Patrick.
Mhm.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I got to see those athletes at IF3 competing alongside each other. Now we get to see them competing with each other,
Together.
and it'll be very interesting. Yeah, and this will be, I think, Miriam's first trip to the U.S. A lot of people know her as someone that won the Open, and some
Mhm.
people probably looked at her as someone that mistakenly won the Open. But I've seen her live in person, and she has some skill. She might be the uh, best person, better than probably Ellie Turner when it comes to wall balls and rowing. She's that good. Her wall balls are ridiculous.
Which is
And from
wild because isn't she the kind of on the smaller side, like
yes,
height-wise? Yeah.
height wise, yeah, she's maybe 5'2", but
Yeah.
the way she does is so efficient. It's almost like she's shooting a basket. Like it's literally. I mean, I have to find the video, but
She's another one that might be worth watching on that last set of overhead squats.
Yes, when it comes to squatting, she's a shorter athlete, has a really good stability in her shoulders. She's getting stronger too. She set like 2 PRs at IF3 on a snatch, and
I
we're
also
talking.
think she just if you wanna talk about who can hurt the most, like, when she
Yes,
won the Open, you know the story of her, like, burpees dumbbell
yeah,
snatch where she did
really
that
good.
workout, like, 5 times in a day and a half or something,
Yeah,
and, like, got faster every single time?
yeah, I talked to her coach a lot, Jan at IF3 about it. And he took the blame for a couple of those, but she didn't complain. She just went out and did it, and she
Yeah, so I think
she still does have has she has a huge hole when it comes to ring muscle ups and some upper
mhm,
body. But besides that, I think Nicole and Eileen, that's where they come in. They're really good at those type of workouts.
yeah,
And those athletes know how to hurt too. Nicole, Brian, you know Nicole. She's one of those athletes. She's a grinder. She's just tough.
And
You
she's
know.
been competing in a lot of individual competitions this off season, but she was on
Mhm.
a Krieger team that made it at the games
Yep.
right, before that. And
mhm,
so, she can kind of do it all in that regard.
Mhm.
And also when you just talk about like just athleticism, she's represented Switzerland in their soccer team as well at the national level. So, and she's a police officer and has been. And Aline's coming up. She got 13th in Dubai. She was 10th in Madrid 2 years ago, 4th at the IF3s like 2 seasons ago. She's been gaining competition experience as well. These girls are good. Everyone that you're seeing on this page is good. If I told you one of these teams made the top 10, Patrick, which team would it be?
I'm leaning towards Team XND or Fossils in Motion. And did
Okay.
I spell fossils wrong? It's supposed to be 1L.
Yeah, that's okay. You literally entered in 250 lines of text, so we're going to give
Yeah.
you a break on that one.
But
And
I'm
possibly it's my fault. I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm looking at those two teams, but I'm probably leaning more towards XND because they have so much upside on that. I mean, there's home run hitters on there. There could be some workouts there where they might finish top 5 if not win. Um, but then Fossils in Motion we didn't really talk too much about. they're just solid. Those are really good athletes on there. Spearheaded by Hadi Kanyo, but Madison and Elisa they're no slouches themselves.
Mesa, who's the one team, not two, like Patrick, who couldn't follow directions, that's going to place top 10?
You said two.
Oh, I did?
Yeah, you did.
Well, the answer is this one. Melanie's got it right.
Yeah.
Well, I know that's the one you think. Um, I honestly agree about X and D. I think that they could be. I think that was a not accurate ranking.
Hannah did do very well at DFC, Pepe. Okay, so that's Emily, Hannah, and Elizabeth. Patrick and Mesa got more confidence in you than me. Let's take a look at who is in the top 10, because if they're going to make it in there, they're going to have to knock at least one of these teams out. And I'm telling you, it does not get easy. This is ridiculous to me that this is not the top 5 teams. These are
It's crazy.
I think that there's a lot of people that would think this is kind of low for the daughters. Mesa, are you one of those people?
I think it could be and it couldn't be. Like, I think if I'm writing out the rankings, I would say 10, but I think they have the ability to maybe upset that because I think just Katrin not like retiring, I think puts her in a position to do better because there's like zero stress. Like, she's just going in to have fun, which might be the best she's ever competed. I think Sarah has something to prove, and I think I don't know, every time you think Annie's not gonna make a comeback or do well, she does. So I think it depends where Annie's at. No one's really seen her compete in a while, so that might be the piece that like we're unsure of.
Okay, I'm gonna force you to make a decision. They don't finish 10th. Do they do better or worse?
Better.
Patrick?
I don't know. I'm not familiar who this Carton David's daughter is. So,
You're getting frustrated with yourself?
yeah, I'm such an idiot. Sorry. Hey, Kat, you're probably not listening to this anyways, but I'm sorry. That's a really good question. There's actually 2 teams on here. I think that they're one of the teams that I think might not be top 10.
Okay.
But yeah, I think the Daughters have a potential to be outside the top 10, as well as the Reebok Crew. Those are the 2 teams I'm kind of looking at that.
Oh, really? Well, at
Yeah.
least Fia and Lindo, you don't see them
Mhm.
as a lock in the top 10 here.
No, I don't. Do you have last year's results? The team, that Reebok team that Lisa had last year with Michelle Basnet and Alison Scott, how'd they do last year?
Last year, that exact team finished 15th. The year before, she competed with Antea Longo and Elena Caratala, and they finished 14th. So she hasn't been cracking the top 10. I think that these 2 that she's with this year are better
Yeah,
than
they're
athletes she's
better.
had in the past.
They're better, but I
Mhm.
don't know. But I think the teams are also better too. So, I think you have them too high at 8. I think their ceiling is probably 10. But hey, what do I know?
Fee has some experience as well.
Mhm.
She competed on the teams of 4 in 2020. They took 4th. She competed on the teams of 3 in 2023. They took 5th. So she's got a pretty good resume at Wodapalooza. And Linda Keishman, I think when you guys were talking about it earlier, like she balances this team out. She's very different than Fia and Elisa. She'll be able to pick up some slack on some things that they
Mhm.
won't. I have confidence in them. So you guys can be on XND and I'll be on Reebok Crew.
Okay.
I just think Trace Leches is better than the Reebok Crew.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I have them one spot apart, but go ahead. Talk about what you love about Trace Leches.
We talk about that balance again. I think Amy and Jesse are very similar type of athlete, and Annika is the kind of the powerhouse in that, and highly skilled. We know what Amy's capable of doing when it comes to capacity. Same with Jesse. They're not weak by all. They can hold their own when it comes to strength and bar cycling. And Annika is, kind of the X factor on that too. I really like the makeup of that team, and they know each other. This is another team I think that was kind of born from the Down Under Championships, because
Yeah.
because that's where Annika and Jesse got to meet Amy, and you know, yeah, I think it's a good team, and I just think it's probably better balanced than the Reebok Crew. Um, yeah, I do recognize what you're saying about Linda, but yeah, Oh, yeah. What's up? Mark that down, Lynn. No, we agree that Sharonki is a very beautiful man too.
On a ranking, it's our first ever time agreeing with you on a ranking.
Gotcha.
Patrick, do you want to talk about the team in 7th there? The
Oh.
Team Krieger, Uda, Ragnhild, and Vor.
Yeah, if you would have asked me a month ago, where I thought this team was at, I'm like, oh, this is probably 15th to 20th. And that's just based off what I know about Reinhold and Var, who are very good athletes, very accomplished team athletes, and my lack of knowledge on Oda. Well, leave it to me to be, I'm on the Oda train. You know how John Young, he's on the Austin Hatfield train. I'm on the Oda train. That
I'm just
girl,
going to throw this out there.
huh?
I think he's actually not very far off on Hatfield. I don't know if he'll win, but I've been hearing some stuff, man.
No. I mean, I've heard and seen. I'm talking about like last year, how he was kind of riding the train. And I'll give him much credit for that because he did turn into a top 10 games athlete, and he does have that potential. But I'm saying like someone like Oda, I am sold. You got to see her live in Dubai and see her, and I got to see her in a team environment. But that team environment at IF3 was more individual based, and talking to the people from Krieger. She's the athlete in that gym that everyone stops to watch whenever she's lifting or doing a workout. Like they all stop. And I don't know if like to the point where Sahara's reposting her on her stories.
Yeah,
So
she's awesome. Ragnar and Vor are very good team athletes as well. I think that's similarly to the Krieger team that I ranked 8th here. It was important to me to make sure that I put them in the top 10. I'm not exactly sure how well they're going to stack up against the onslaught of individual athletes that are competing together on teams. But as far as team athletes go, we saw it a few years ago when you saw Ingrid and Lena and Kristen just come in and win. Like it does translate to doing quite well. So I think that they are a good bet for the top 10.
yeah, you can't that Krieger pedigree where they
Yeah.
it's very unique. Like it's the one, everyone talks about these camps, but they're a team training camp. And the reason why that works is because everyone they bring in, they're not about themselves. They're about Krieger. They're about their team. So there's none of this. They all have, they do have individual athletes, and they all want to be great. But even like someone like Sahara Matilda, they still look out for the best interests of Krieger. They
And
represent.
it's different. Like you keep talking about the down under stuff, where it's like people become friends and like, hey, we should do a team at Wodapalooza. Yeah.
Mhm.
Krieger's different. You tell the camp, I want to be on a team. They evaluate you, and then they match you up with people and say, okay, here's your team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not just it's not, and it's matched up based on everything from the personalities, the strength and weaknesses. I mean, it's a very calculated, like Seaman, Joachim. I mean, that whole crew there, they have it down to a science. That's why you have teams from Sweden, from Denmark, from Finland, all part of that system because they're like scientists when it comes to that. And it's a proven method, and that's why I think it's interchangeable. And I think they're a really good team. And 7th is a good spot for them, but if it's a teamwork event, I could see them being a little bit higher than that. But 7th is a good spot for them, and keep an eye on Oda.
Mesa, am I being a little harsh on the Broadway girls here? Haley Adams, Brooke Wells, Sydney Wells, slotting them 6th.
No, I think you actually might be being generous.
Oh, okay.
I love this team. I'm super excited to see the Wells sisters. I think that they could do really well just from like a getting along standpoint, understanding each other. They're siblings, they're good friends. I think that even though Sydney's been around for a long time, I would say she's relatively new to that caliber of competition. Haley is on the come up, I think.
The re-come up?
Yeah,
It's like
the
yeah.
re-come up. That's what I mean. Obviously, she's the very established athlete. I think that when I see this team, I'm like, they're doing this for fun. That's how I feel about it. Like they're there to have a really good time and like hang out with the girls or their sister. I don't know that they're there to win.
They're fierce competitors. Brooke and Sydney also doing the individual competition. I'll be curious to see how they do. It was hard for me. I think I saw Jared put a comment in there about like, man, it's just weird to see those names in that ranking. But again, like
But
people
look
have been
at
saying.
look at everyone in front of them,
So yeah, stacked group here, 6 through 10. But let's flip over to the top 5 and take a look at kind of why that is. We'll start at 5 and we'll work our way up towards the top. I think this exact team that's in 5th took 2nd place last year. PC, we've been saying it's a talented field this year. Do you think that this is a realistic regression for them, or do you think they'll be back on that podium?
I think it's realistic, but I do see a scenario where they're on the podium just based on just them knowing each other. What you have here, and what you have here are a lot of names. I was looking at, when I first started this little photo project, I was like looking for like pictures of, I was able to do it more for the women than the men, but like where it was like 1 or 2 of them have a connection where I can use a picture of them. If you go back, you'll see that. Emma, Lawson, Shelby, Neal, Danielle, Brandon. There's really no connection between any of them outside of maybe some sponsors here and there. You know, um, you know, I don't even know if they really even communicate much outside of competition. So for me, that just seems, yeah, on paper, those are amazing athletes, but you throw them together with no connection or no communication. Does that automatically make them the best team? I think you got to have that communication. You got to have some of that, and that's what we see. That's why I feel so highly about. That's why I think it's so important that Hopper went up there and hung out with Vellner and and Adler. But I don't know. That's just kind of my thought. I mean, I know Kyra and Danny. They have a really good relationship, but how often do they train together? Same with
Okay,
Olivia.
let's do this. Mesa, is the winning team on this list?
On the top 5, yes,
Yeah.
but yes, I think it's the relay Solvay's.
Tell us why.
I mean, I think Ariel Lowen's kind of proved herself time and time again as probably one of the best athletes on this entire roster. I think Abby Domit is much better than what we saw at the games. I think she was like,
More like
in
what we saw
my
at semis.
yes, and I think coming off of, I mean, I think the games it's tough with what happened to see fitness levels. Some of that might not have showed, and I think Emily Rolfe is underrated. She's such a good athlete, and if you look at, like, what she did in teams in SoCal, like, some of her performances on the, like, bar facing burpee run, air bike event, that kinda thing, like, she's just insane with cardio, and I think, um, as a like, Stevie is one of my favorite athletes. I think you saw her kind of fall apart on a worm. I don't know that that team's going to have great communication. It's 3 phenomenal athletes, but none of them really have great team experience. I think they'll be in the top 3. I think they'll probably be 2nd or 3rd, and I think Relight's going to win.
Patrick, is the winning team on this list?
Yes, the podium. The top 3 are on this list, just not in your list.
What do you think that they're going to be?
I think Froggy Girls Who Don't Run wins it, followed by Swedish House Mafia, followed by Team Pro Poon.
I think that Froggy Girls Who Don't Run is way lower than 2nd. I think they're like 5th or 6th.
Why is that?
I think there's not enough events to have a really bad event, and I think the rope climb event is gonna hurt them.
Interesting.
Or
Yeah,
which
I mean, I would say this. Like, look, she's talking about Froggy Girls Who Don't Run. Oh,
Yeah.
you're asking her which athlete?
Yeah, I mean,
I think
Kyra and
none of
Danny
them are
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
55 rope climbs. I mean, Olivia Cursiter, it's a weakness, we know this. I think
She might do all the cleans.
yeah, which fair. I don't think it's a strength for Danny or Kyra. I think they're 3 of the biggest girls on the field. I think 55 rope climbs is a lot. I know that Kyra's good at, like, ring muscle ups, gymnastics like that. I think rope climbs are a little bit different.
Melanie agrees. Relight for the win. I'll say when Alex Kazan was listed on that team,
Originally,
they got an overwhelming number of the votes to win, and so there probably are still the fan favorites. You said Swedish House Mafia to take second, Patrick.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you could switch second and fourth, and we'd
Oh, you
switch
guys,
first and third and second and fourth.
you guys both higher on Emma Tall, Lena Richter, and Emily Lundberg than I am.
Yeah, that's just such good team. Like Lena Richter's amazing.
Well, Emily Lundberg is the only returning champion in this field. Lena Richter, I think she's won it before. I can't remember if she got second the other
She
time
won
they
it with
competed.
won it with Holta.
That was the only time they competed. So they've both won this thing before, and Emma Tall is better than both of them as an individual athlete by a long margin. So absolutely could see this team on the podium. No doubt about that. This was really hard. These two, Mesa and Patrick, know that I switched the order of these 5 teams a few times in the last couple of days. I'm not even sure. I'm honestly not sure. These 5 teams are really good. I would be shocked if the podium doesn't come out of these 5 teams. And this is just where I ended up with it. I think this is going to be one of the most compelling and exciting competitions. You know, we see a lot of times that there's like 2 teams battling it out, but I think that this is one of those competitions that you have a chance to be entering into the final event with 3 to 6 teams that are all within
on the line,
30 to 50 points of each other, knowing that there's another 10 teams that on any given event could middle and steal some points. So while I do agree with what Mesa said that you can't really afford to have a very bad finish, I also am not sure how many of these teams will have top 10s across the board. I think there'll be like everyone will have that 11th, 15th, 17th, and then it's just, can you offset it with a couple of top 3s to get yourself back in the mix?
Brian,
which they definitely could.
Yeah, Brian, why did you end up with Yeti Outcast at 1?
No, none of them doing the individual competition. I think Shelby Neal's really underrated. I think that Emma Lawson's coming in a good headspace for this. I mean, you know, what Mesa said about Danielle, like, we'll see. I feel like this is a momentum team. If they get off to a good start, that they could be on the first day, that they could be pretty tough on the second day. It'll be interesting to see how that first event goes for them with the overheads squats, because there's a lot of strong teams in this field. But if that might be their worst finish, if they bounce back really strongly on events 2 and 3, I think they can. I think they can hang.
But I mean, DB's phenomenal at overhead, and Emma Lawson's pretty strong. Like
they're
not out for that by any means.
No, and if that's their worst finish, then they might be this team that does manage to have all top 10s. Maybe not the wins. They might not have event wins like you'd expect Froggy Girls to have an event win. You'd expect Relay to have an event win. But I don't know. I just feel like I felt like they were getting overshadowed by what I was seeing coming out, and I wanted to kind of acknowledge the fact that I think that they're in the mix to win.
I think that the Froggy Girls are going to annihilate the overhead squat workout.
But this, I would say, of the 4 elite divisions that are competing there, this is the division I'm least confident about my podium in.
Yeah, it really is so
maybe
up for grabs.
Maybe even least confident about the top 10, and it's just an awesome field.
Fact, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. If you agree or disagree with anything we said, please. One, I put the link to the article in the description. It's out right now. Read it. Some really good stuff, Brian. Some especially when you were talking about Krieger and some of the dynamics to what you use to determine your order. And then also, like and comment, please, on the actual story. If you disagree or agree, or who is your podium? That's what I wanted. I've asked that question a couple of times. Like, they disagree with their podium, so I asked them, "What is your podium?" So that's what I want to kind of see. So yeah, so that was that's Wodapalooza.
Look for some articles coming out during competition week from Mesa. We wanted to give you guys a chance to get to see her, hear from her a little bit. So
appreciate it.
I know she pissed off at least one person in the chats.
Apparently, I'm the least favorite of somebody.
What
Doing
do
something
you
right
give
if
Mesa
someone's
for?
mad.
What do I give Mesa?
What do you give Mesa for grade? What do you give Mesa a grade for this first
Oh,
show at.
I need to mull that one over. No, she did great.
Mesa, what do you grade yourself at?
like a solid B.
Okay, I'll go with that. I'll agree with that. I'll go B plus.
Oh, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, there we go. So I don't know what
I'm
Brian.
still feeling y'all out and like where to pipe in and where not to.
Yeah, we
Here
still
we
don't
go.
know. There
Melanie,
you go.
you're welcome back anytime.
Yeah, throw your
Isn't she
grades.
the one who said she doesn't like me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Lynn. It's either Lynn or Melanie,
It's fine. I'll take it.
Good.
CJ, who's in the booth this year? We are producing. I'm hoping that Wodapalooza announces that. You guys definitely know the people who are going to be doing the broadcast. I'm going to hold off on saying it in case they have an announcement coming, but been working with them in the run up, and everyone's really excited about it. So I think that we're going to hopefully give you guys the best that we can, on behalf of the athletes in Loud and Live. So.
I will say it's not me. I'm not in the broadcast booth.
You did get some love on that Reps Ahead announcement, though.
I did. Oh yeah, I did. Especially from Taylor Self.
I think he's just jealous about where Andrew was standing.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Andrew has a nice ass. He does. He has a really nice ass.
Could be. They've been there before.
Announce something. What are they announcing? I don't know. Jeez, you guys know. I like everybody. That's my damn problem. True. Melanie does like everybody. So, damn it. Sorry. But no, that's cool. That was great. Good job. I really, when Brian told me, he's like, yeah, we're going to have you on. I was like, caught me by surprise, because it's funny because I didn't want to say something to Brian about like catching me by surprise, because I do it to him all the time. So it's only fair. So I'm like, okay, I got you. And then, read your work and excited about you helping out this weekend or being a part of it too. Yeah, being a part of the team. Maybe we can talk Brian and get you a media pass, so that way, you're just not, just hanging out on the beach. Well, I mean, you're probably hanging out on the beach anyway. So. But
it's gonna be a good weekend.
Yeah, in terms of, like I said, we probably won't have any shows this week. Brian is heading over to the east side of Florida. I think Monday, right?
Yep.
And then I'm flying back to Germany on Monday. Have to work one day on Tuesday, and then I'll be flying in on Wednesday. Mesa, when you getting in?
Thursday.
Okay. So, yeah. So we'll be down there. Just it's gonna be crazy and fun at the same time. Can't wait. Just looking at the roster. Yeah, just looking at the rosters, like I said, just from the team, and like I said, it just looks so fun. I was talking to Sahar, I don't know.
We'll see. This is this is tough. I'm just gonna be slammed starting Monday, so I don't know. We'll see, T-Bird, but it's a good shout. The full slate of matches has not been announced yet, so we didn't want to do anything until that happened. And since it hasn't been announced yet, we haven't done a show. But it is a good idea, and maybe we'll sneak in something for a little Reps Ahead preview.
We'll try. But yeah, for those coming down to Miami, if you see us, give us a shout. Usually we'll probably be running from place to place, but they'll never stop us from saying hi and at least taking a picture, or letting me take a picture with you. It's more like it.
We'll see about that. A couple of cases. If we can, we'll do it.
Oh, I'm gonna make it happen. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, great show. Tomorrow, nothing. If you're bored and want to watch fitness, and tune in to the Storm games. Yeah, that's about it. Otherwise, we're right into it. We start Wodapalooza week.
Let's go.
For me, that seems like it's the official start of the 2025 season, but it's a busy month. I mean, because right after that you have TFX, just a bunch of stuff going on. So, yeah. So, all right.
Divisional round of NFL playoffs. Texans coming to take down the Chiefs. Lions are going to win. Ravens
Hot
over
takes.
Bill. Yeah, here we go. Look at let's see those rings.
Rams taking out the Eagles. They're the team of destiny this year.
Oh,
right.
that's some
won't hear
real
me-
hot takes.
You won't hear me throw out any football picks too often, but come on, someone's got to beat the Chiefs. I'm sick of them winning.
Well, I am too.
Good luck.
I am too. I really want Philly. Actually, I want Philly versus the Ravens.
Yeah,
the
you're
Birds.
getting into some hot territory there with those picks.
Patrick, get us out of here.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It is midnight. I'm gonna go get a burger. There's a place outside called Buns, so I don't know. It's cool.
Okay.
It could be either two things. It could be two things. It could either be a hamburger place or something else. But since we're in Dubai, and I figure it's a hamburger place. So
I think at midnight maybe it changes over.
maybe I don't know. But anyways, so this is the last time Mesa's ever going to be on the show with us. And,
We started with
It was short-lived.
and we finished with the
and here we go. There we go. All right, everyone. Hey, be a lot of craziness going on in the world today. Our thoughts are out to the people out in California that are still struggling with the fires out there. A lot of them are friends of ours. So please, if you are, show them some love. And yeah, just overall, let's just be good people. At the end of the day, everyone be friendly.